Ever catch yourself telling a friend you're stressed out when, biologically speaking, your body is actually completely terrified? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to untangle the actual, hard biological reality behind those emotional words we just casually toss around every single day. We say stressed, anxious, or angry like they're all the exact same thing, but beneath the surface, your body is executing completely different, highly specialized chemical programs. So let's dive right into the hard science of our distress. Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty simple question that might just challenge everything you think you know about your own mind. Think about the last time you felt totally overwhelmed at work or maybe at home. How did you label it? Were you stressed? Or were you actually anxious? Because here's the thing, from a clinical and biological standpoint, getting that answer wrong means you're literally misidentifying what's happening inside your own physiology. Think of stress like your reaction to a car suddenly swerving into your lane on the highway. It's happening right now, right in front of you. It's a purely reactive response to a present external threat. It's that looming deadline, a crazy traffic jam, an argument with your boss. The reaction is proportionate, and critically, this is the key. It completely resolves the moment the pressure is gone. Anxiety, on the other hand, that's lying awake in bed at 2 a.m., agonizing over a car crash that hasn't even happened. It's a totally different beast. It's internally driven, anticipatory, and completely focused on the future. It literally doesn't need an external trigger to exist. So stress is firmly rooted in the now, while anxiety is just this persistent, haunting worry about what might happen. Now, in everyday conversation, we just mash all these distinct states together. But clinically, they are entirely different animals. Take a look at the stark contrast here. Fear is all about an immediate, tangible threat, and it only lasts seconds or minutes. Anger is specifically tied to a perceived injustice. Tension? Actually, scratch that. Tension isn't even an emotion. It's a physical bracing, a prolonged habit of muscular hypervigilance your body uses like a shield. And rage? Well, rage is a brief, explosive state driven by ancient, primitive brain circuits. Every single one of these states has its own origin, its own unique timeline, and its own totally distinct chemical signature.
Section 1. Inside the brain's wiring. Let's look under the hood to see the neurochemical triggers that actually orchestrate these profound bodily shifts.
Think of your brain like a high-performance engine, and it's governed by a very clear accelerator and brake system. Glutamate is your ultimate excitatory accelerator. It revs up fear and rage, just flooding your neural pathways with the signal to react right now. Meanwhile, GABA acts as the inhibitory brake, desperately trying to regulate the system and calm down all that mounting anxiety. And then you have molecules like substance P. If glutamate is the gas pedal, substance P is literally the nitrous boost. It acts as a potentiator, dialing up the intensity of defensive aggression to absolute explosive levels.
Believe it or not, a pure defensive biological surge of rage only lasts about 90 seconds in the brain. Yeah, just a minute and a half. That massive chemical dump that creates a total loss of rational control, what scientists sometimes call an amygdala hijack, runs its initial explosive course incredibly fast. But the dysregulation it leaves behind, wow, that systemic shockwave can linger in your body for hours, sometimes even days, long after that initial spark has totally burned out.
So when the rational brake of your prefrontal cortex fails, a primitive, three-step circuit takes over to fire off this autonomous rage response. Step 1, your medial amygdala detects a primitive threat. Step 2, it instantly flashes that signal right to the medial hypothalamus. And Step 3, the signal drops straight down into the periaqueductal gray, or PAG, of the midbrain. You can kind of think of the PAG as the brain's ancient survival bunker. It's a specialized, deep brain circuit completely dedicated to defensive rage that just bypasses logic entirely.
What's really fascinating here is that your autonomic nervous system can completely tell these states apart by tracking your heart rate variability, or HRV. Simply put, HRV just measures how adaptable your heartbeat is. Fear is associated with a lower HRV, because you're locked into this rigid, singular rhythm designed to either avoid or flee a threat. Anger, surprisingly, often shows a higher HRV. Why? Because anger involves an approach motivation. You actually need dynamic, fluctuating energy to step up and confront an injustice. So your heart literally beats with a fundamentally different rhythm, depending on whether you're running away or standing your ground.
Section 2, the systemic ripple effect. This 90-second chemical explosion in the brain doesn't just vanish. It sends a massive, damaging ripple effect throughout your entire cardiovascular and gastrointestinal systems. The brain might move on, but the body definitely keeps the score. These chemical cascades physically alter your internal organs. Persistent surges of epinephrine act like sandpaper, literally damaging the delicate lining of your blood vessels. Acute stress triggers cellular signals that crank up mucus production, which severely exacerbates airway conditions like asthma. And hey, if you've ever felt that sudden nausea or butterflies in your stomach during a crisis, that is not just in your head. Stress hormones like catecholamines physically lock down your gut by binding to specific receptors. It literally halts your digestion and impairs your intestinal barrier, creating what we commonly call leaky gut.
Section 3. The male body's response. Now, let's explore how these exact same emotional states uniquely ravage male physiology. In men, chronic stress and anxiety launch a direct, absolutely devastating attack on fertility. Elevated cortisol acts like a kill switch for the HPG axis, which is basically the male fertility control center, shutting down testosterone production right at the source. But the damage goes all the way down to the cellular level. Stress induces reactive oxygen species. These unstable molecules literally attack the fatty acids in sperm membranes, making them rigid, and then they penetrate the nucleus to cause physical DNA strand breaks. This high DNA fragmentation is directly linked to lower fertilization rates and a significantly higher risk of miscarriage. It's intense. But here is the hopeful ticking clock in all of this. At day 0, high stress is actively fracturing DNA. But because the male sperm production cycle takes about 64 to 74 days, it's an entirely renewable resource. If focused stress management techniques kick in, by the time we hit that 64 to 74 day mark, a brand new, vastly healthier production cycle is complete. It is incredibly empowering to know that simply managing your mental state can measurably restore reproductive health in just over 2 months.
Moving on to Section 4, the female body's response. Conversely, the female biological response takes a vastly different, deeply immunological path.
This brings us to a really unique and deeply concerning danger for women, the concept of self-silencing. This is the deliberate act of repressing anger or suppressing emotion just to keep the peace. Clinically speaking, self-silencing means your body's stress engine is just left running in the background. It leads to prolonged activation of your stress response systems and this continuous drip, drip, drip of cortisol. This endless loop has been directly associated with the aggressive worsening of systemic autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and fibromyalgia. Literally, swallowing your anger fuels physical disease.
Furthermore, women experience a much more aggressive inflammatory response to mental stress. When stressed, female bodies flood with powerful, aggressive inflammatory markers at way higher rates than men. Chronic stress physically tips the scales of a woman's immune system, altering cellular defenses in a way that actively invites conditions like Graves' disease. Even asthma shifts to become far more prevalent and severe in women after puberty, simply because of how fluctuating hormones like estrogen and progesterone interact with stress-induced airway inflammation. Section 5. Why clinical accuracy matters. Understanding these profound, gender-specific physiological ripples explains exactly why global medical diagnostics are radically shifting. The new ICD-11 guidelines, which is essentially the global playbook for doctors published by the World Health Organization, they finally recognize these crucial clinical nuances. For generalized anxiety disorder, they've actually removed the old strict 6-month duration rule. Now they focus on the core destructive issue, the sheer persistence of general apprehensiveness. Panic disorder is now smartly separated from agoraphobia. And perhaps the biggest shift of all, acute stress reaction has been moved entirely out of the mental disorder category. It's now classified simply as a factor influencing health. This correctly recognizes that an acute stress reaction is a normal, proportionate biological response to a chaotic world, not a primary psychiatric disease.
Conflating these distinct terms prevents us from clinically healing them. If you cannot name the state, you cannot treat the system. So, knowing what we know now, that the 90-second burst of primitive rage, the present-focused autonomic arousal of fear, and the future-oriented phantom worry of anxiety all trigger completely different paths of biological destruction in our bodies, I'm going to leave you with this. What exactly are you feeling right now, and what is it really doing to you?